After 11 races across 6 rounds, it all comes down to this, the finale, the final race of the 2023 season for the Prototype Cup Germany. Hello everybody, welcome along to the Nürburgring for this race 12 of a 12 race season for what has been a fantastic year in Prototype Cup Germany. We started off in Hockenheim back in April and we have seen lots of excitement and lots of good racing. We have raced both here in Germany and also in the Netherlands at both Zandvoort and Assen. Yesterday, we witnessed a very thrilling race here at the Nürburgring, race 11 of the season. And we saw a win for Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer, the drivers who have claimed the championship this year already. They become the second driver pairing ever to win the championship in the Prototype Cup Germany. Last year's champions were Berke Besler and Marvin Dienst, but they now hand that mantle over to the racing experience team of Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser. In second place yesterday was Nigel Moore, the British driver who has joined the grid for Aus Motorsport during this 2023 season. He's joined us at Assen for round 5 a few weeks ago and has proven to be very rapid indeed, and that was proven yesterday with a second place finish. Now the third place car across the line yesterday was Jakob Erlbacher, and that meant at the time that Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser had also clinched the team championship for racing experience as a result of the second place team not being able to catch them. That second place team being Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab. But after yesterday's race in scrutineering, the Jakob Erlbacher car failed scrutineering. Gebhard Motorsport put their hand up and said, yes, we made an honest mistake. There was an issue with the engine mapping on the number 70 Duquesne D08, and it was Jakob Erlbacher who was disqualified from the race. That promoted Jan Marszalkowski and GMD Oliveira up into third place, a podium position, and great stuff that Jan Marszalkowski, a previous winner this year, he won at Zandvoort, but GMD Oliveira, who makes his debut in Prototype Cup Germany this weekend, scoring what would have been a podium position. Of course, the disqualification happened much later yesterday, and so we didn't actually see the two drivers on the podium, but they would have been thrilled with their third place. And it means that having declared that Racing Experience were the team champions, we wind back on that. They are no longer the team champions. They still have work to do because the disqualification of the number 70 car promoted Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apotelos up to fourth place, and therefore they still remained in the hunt. But I have to say, the weights are very much in favour of the Racing Experience team to win the team championship still. They only need to score a couple of points and they will have put that to bed because they lead Van Ommen Racing by 23 points. And of course, 25 points is awarded for a win. We have the prehistoric monsters on the track. I don't know what they're trying to say, but great stuff here at the Nürburgring. A good crowd in here as part of the legendary ADAC race weekend. We are looking at car number 3. That is Nigel Moore, who will start fourth on the grid. There is the car that was the centre of all the controversy yesterday, Jakob Erlbacher. He's driving solo, as indeed is Nigel Moore in this race, and he's got it all to do again. He's in a good position to do that. He's starting P3. That was the position he crossed the line in yesterday until he got disqualified. But pole position today has gone the way of Nico Gerler for BWT Mucker Motorsport, scoring his first ever pole position in the pink car on the left-hand side of the screen. He was delighted about that. It was a difficult qualifying session. Unlike yesterday, where qualifying took place in slippery conditions, today the qualifying was in very dry conditions, but it's blooming Baltic at the Nürburgring this weekend. The drivers really struggling to get heat into the tyres and getting the tyres into the window, and those who mastered it were those that towards the front of the grid, and it was Nico Gerler who came out on top of everybody as we look at car number 15 that starts 6th on the grid. Gary Hauser will be at the wheel of that, the championship winning car. car, and he will be sharing with Marcus Pommer. Second on the grid, Xavier Loveras for Mullner Motorsport. So Xavier Loveras scoring his best result in qualifying of the year, and it's great to have him here. He's also in a Mullner Motorsport Duqueine D08. Of course, we saw him alongside Gabriela Gilkova for much of this season, but he is now switched across to the number 21 car for this event, and it's great to have him there, but he's running solo in that car, so he will not have a co-driver. You can see the teams with the wet tyres on the tyre racks. Now, we're looking to the skies, and it is dry at the moment. It's cold. Everybody's got their coat zipped up to the neck and the scarves wrapped around. We are hoping we're going to be able to go the distance without any rain. There it is then. This is the grid. It's Nico Gerler on pole position with Xavier Loveras alongside Jakob Erlbacher after his disqualification, and Nigel Moore start on row 2. And 3 of the top 4 drivers are solo drivers, so they running on their own, whereas many of the other cars, in fact all bar 4 of the other cars, will be coming into the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. They will just come in for a mandatory stop. Julian Apotelos, a good qualifying from him on row 3 alongside Gary Hauser, the new champion. Robin Rogowski, who shares with Valentina Catalana, was Catalana in the number 77 car, who qualified alongside Jan Marszalkowski, who starts 8th on the grid. So contrary to what the graphics says, it is Valentino Catalana who is in the number 77 DKR engineering car. On row 5, it's Danny Sufi, the American driver who's taken so well to this, and Sebastian von Gartzen that make it an all Conrad Motorsport row 5. And on row 6, Dan Skudopol. He did well yesterday alongside Beitske Visser, who did not get to drive yesterday. So Dan Skudopol, who comes from the world of rallycross racing and has taken to LMP3 racing this weekend very well indeed. And Beitske Visser, who starts 12th, she shares with Elias Sparandio. Well, he was involved in an incident at the start of the race yesterday, and Beitske Visser did not get a stint in the car. So she qualified it this morning. She's qualified it 12th on row 6, and she will do the first part of the race before handing it over to Elias Sparandio. Then we have the father and son duo of Mark and Max van der Snel. It's Mark who will have the first stint in the wheel of the Moore Motorsport by Reiter car, and then the legendary Klaus Abelin, who will be doing the first stint in the Fricadelli Racing number 30 car, and it's great to have Klaus on the grid. The legendary driver, along with Felipe Lazar, who will do the second stint. He did the qualifying yesterday, so it's Klaus today. And then bringing up the rear, Wolfgang Peyer for racing experience. But it's so good to have the number 30 car on the grid. Fricadelli Racing, of course, they won the Nürburgring 24-hour race earlier this year, and Klaus Abelin, the boss of that team, celebrating. And one of the drivers that brought the car across the line in the Nürburgring 24-hour race was Felipe Lazar, and he is doing the second stint in that car today. It was Klaus Abelin who did the qualifying this morning, the 63-year-old putting the car on the grid in 14th place. So you can see the cars on their formation lap, and you can see what looks like a lot of mud on the racing line. It's not mud. In fact, we saw a little earlier the track stewards who have been working hard all weekend laying down what is the equivalent in motorsport nowadays to cement dust, but something to absorb what would be oil and fluid from previous races. But the track is a little bit tricky here at the Nürburgring, and it may well catch some of these drivers out. As already mentioned, we are at the Nürburgring, but we are using the Grand Prix circuit. Great to be on the legendary full circuit here at the Nürburgring, and that is a circuit that is 5.137 kilometers around, with 15 turns, 6 to the left and 9 to the right. Overtaking not especially easy here. There are overtaking opportunities, the best of which is into turn 1, but it's also a very tricky corner into turn 1, getting the car slowed down and getting the car turned in that sharp right-hand turn, which also goes downhill hills slightly, always a bit tricky, and we often see cars running wide. Fortunately, there is a runoff area there, but it's along the pit straight into turn 1 where we are most likely to see overtaking taking place as we ride on board with the number 70 car of Jakob Erlbacher. That was the view from third place on the grid. A wonderful sight and a wonderful noise, the rumble of these cars, and they really do make the ground shake when they come past with their 5.6 litre V8 Nissan engines. The engines are all identical, the chassis are not. We have 8 Ducane DO8s in the race, we have 5 Ligier JSP 320s, and we have 2 Ginetta G61 LTP3 cars. They are just 2 of 6 of the Ginetta chassis that were built, and they are both being run by Conrad Motorsport. So good variety here. This, the second season of the Prototype Cup Germany, organised by the ADAC in collaboration with Creventic, and they have provided some great entertainment here throughout this season. Now we can see the cars back out onto the pit straight, and we've just had notification that it will be 2 formation laps. So because the track is fairly dirty, and because the cars need to get heat into the tyres and into the brakes, the drivers are required to go round once again. You can see it has been raining. There are some wet patches on the track, so a very wise decision as we start the second of the formation laps. Could I have less live sound, please, Tobias? So we're riding on board once again with Jakob Erlbacher. You can see his view from third place on the grid, and the 2 cars in front of him. And you can see that the track really is going to take a little bit of cleaning up. That's around turn 3, and that is going to be very tricky. That may limit opportunities on that part of the circuit. So drivers are going to have to be very brave to stray off the racing line. We did have a fairly heavy shower here a little while ago. You can see there is very much a dry line appearing, but keeping the car on the track is going to be the biggest skill of all in this race, because these cars are tricky even in the dry conditions, and we've seen it all year long. The car's really quite twitchy under braking, and particularly when they hit any bumps on the circuit or when they pick up any curb. So it can be a really difficult job to keep these cars just pointing in the right direction. Of course, we add to that a bit of rain, a bit of oil, and whatever else may be on the track, and these drivers really do have their work cut out. It is a 55-minute race. That is 55 minutes plus 1 lap. And there will be a mandatory stop that takes place. So the pit window will open 22 minutes into the race, and it will remain open for 10 minutes. So 22 minutes into the race, the pit window will open, and during that window, every car will be required to enter the pits for mandatory stop. Now, there is a minimum pit stop time for every car, and it's different for each car. So the minimum pit stop time, the basic minimum pit stop time, is 95 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. But depending on the driver and the driver combinations, there is an additional handicap that is added on just to level the playing field up. So the drivers are all categorized by the FIA. They will be either bronze, silver or gold, depending on experience, depending on age, and a number of other factors. So the drivers that are higher up in the categories will get a longer handicap on the pit stop, and the drivers that are solo, that are not changing over to another driver, will also have a longer pit stop. They get about another 5 seconds added to their minimum pit stop time. We'll continue to explain that as this race unfolds. You can see the cars now formed up around to turn 15. They are about to come bunched up side by side. We are getting ready for race 12, the final race of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany, and we are at the Nürburgring. 5 red lights on, 5 red lights off, and we are go. The cars fan out along the pit straight. We come in towards turn 1. We saw Julian Apothelos taking a fairly wide line in towards the pit wall, but it is still Nico Gerler who leads them into turn 1. Xavier Loveras trying to come round the outside, going 3 abreast into turn 1. They all make it, so hats off to them into turn 2. But it's Nico Gerler who leads the way, and up into second place, that's Nigel Moore, who's made a great start, but he is also running side by side with another of the cars. Xavier Lovras has dropped back a little as well. There is our new champion, Gary Hauser, in the number 15 car. All the cars just scrambling for position. Side by side is Nico Gerler, who leads the way from Nigel Moore into the first corner. Into the first lap, should I say. The clock now starts to tick down, but lots of fighting for position up and down the pack, and Nigel Moore looking very eager as he tracks Nico Gerler all the way in the lead car, but it is still Nico Gerler who leads the way. There's Xavier Lovras with Gary Hauser behind him, Julien Apotholos just behind him as well, but this is the fight for the lead. The lead two cars have broken clear of Jakob Becker in that third place. It's Nigel Moore who shadows every move for Nico Gerler. So Nico Gerler moving to the outside, taking the racing line into the corner. Nico Gerler, one of the drivers who's in the junior category of this race, hence the J next to his name in your graphic. But all the cars have made it around the first few corners, so great news there. And now up towards turn 12 we come. The leader, Nico Gerler, with Nigel Moore looking very eager indeed. The roar of these cars as they fight for position. You can see how hard Nigel Moore wants to get in front. Nigel Moore, one of the drivers who's running solo, so he will have a pit stop that is 5 seconds longer than the number 8 car, because Nico Gerler is sharing with Gustavo Kirila. So Nigel Moore will want to get in front. You can see the drivers weaving to try and get the heat into the tyres. That has been the story of this day so far, getting the heat into the tyres. Nico Gerler goes deep into the corner. Nigel Moore taking a tighter line. The two cars almost coming together. It's still Nico Gerler who leads the way from Nigel Moore. Jakob Becker about 1.5 seconds behind. Nigel Moore has a look on the inside, but the track is so dirty there. But Nico Gerler going wide onto the dirty stuff. Now Nigel Moore swaps back to a different racing line. He tries to pull alongside Nico Gerler. The two cars running absolutely side by side towards turn 5. Nico Gerler has the racing line. Nigel Moore trying to go round the outside. He tries to take the long way around, and it's Nigel Moore who jumps into the lead, demoting Nico Gerler down into second place. Brilliant driving from these drivers, the young and the slightly less young driver running side by side, and it goes the way of Nigel Moore, the British driver who leads the way in car number 3 for Aus Motorsport, the legendary team Aus Motorsport leading this race. Now Nico Gerler drops back slightly, but to remind you, because of the pit stop handicap, Nigel Moore will be stationary in the pits for 5 seconds longer than the number 8 car. So he will be wanting to stretch his legs at the front as much as possible now while he can, while he has an open track in front of him. Now, car number 26 is under investigation for a grid infringement, so that is Dan Skadopoulos. He is currently running in 12th place, and he is under investigation for potentially starting in the wrong place, as indeed is car number 35. That is Beitske Visser. So both of those cars under investigation by our race stewards for a grid infringement. Now, whether that is starting from the wrong position or whether there was something that happened before we'd even started our formation laps, but those two cars are under investigation. We'll keep one eye on that and let you know if there are any penalties that will be incoming. So at the moment, it's Nigel Moore who leads the way. We're looking at Danny Sufi looking just a little to the inside of his teammate Sebastian von Gartzen in that 8th place, but keep an eye on Valentino Catalana. He has been so impressive this year in the number 77, the orange, black and blue car. Number 77 for DKR Engineering, the Luxembourg team, and Valentino Catalana has a reputation of charging through the field. He's had a lot of bad luck this year and really felt as though he was a contender, and we all felt as though he was a contender for the championship, but for a lot of bad luck that has seen him often recording a non-finishing or finishing further back than what he probably deserves. But he is so good at charging through the pack. He's currently in 10th place. He had a difficult qualifying session this morning. Again, one of the drivers who is struggling to get the tyres up to temperature and having to do all the work coming through on a track that is quite difficult to overtake on. So we can see that it's Nigel Moore who leads the way from Nico Gerler, Jakob Erlbacher trying to make up for the disappointment of yesterday, and Jan Marszałkowski in 4th place. So he's making a good progress there. Jan Marszałkowski, who started in 8th place on the grid, has made up 4 places. Whoever said you can't overtake in a prototype around here clearly hasn't spoken to Jan Marszałkowski. So he's up in the 4th place. Xavier Loveras, who started on the front row of this race, down into 5th place. Now keep an eye on Catalano and Sufi. Catalana in 10th place, Sufi in 9th, and Catalana certainly looking the quicker of the two. He is so racy. We saw him do some astonishing qualifying laps earlier in the year. He really knows how to hustle that number 77 car. He's really found his home in prototype racing, and he is working his way up through the pack. So a drive-through penalty for car 35 for car not on wheels after 3 minutes, and the same also for car 26, Dan Skrdopol. So both of them are going to have a drive-through penalty for not having the car on the ground in time for the start of the race within the allotted time. So that is going to ruin their day. And I should think that Beitske Visser and Elias Sporandio wonder why they even bothered coming, because they had a tough day yesterday, and today they're going to drop all the way to the back. We are watching this battle for 9th place. Valentino Catalana looks to the outside, ducks to the inside, back to the outside. And still, he can't get past Danny Sufi, but surely it's only a matter of time before the Conrad Motorsport car in front of him has to give way, because it is Valentino Catalana in 10th place who is looking very rapid indeed. So Danny Sufi, the driver who joined last year in the opening year of the Prototype Cup Germany, the American driver who is very much part and parcel of the Conrad Motorsport team, gets involved in the workshop as well, and he has taken to the prototype racing very well and has really enjoyed his time. Last year he was looking good, this year he's looking good, and now he's got Valentino Catalana who is shadowing his every move. The two cars that are due to take a drive-through penalty have not done yet, but I dare say next time around they will come into the pits. We continue to focus on Danny Sufi in 9th place and Valentino Catalana in 10th place. Catalana now tucked up behind him, looking very rapid indeed. Out onto the pit straight they come. Is he close enough to make a move into turn 1? Let's take a look. Up ahead of them is Sebastian von Gartzen, teammate to Danny Sufi. Valentino Catalana, he has a little look to the outside. Well, Sufi's made his intention clear into turn 1. He's going to take the inside line, going to try and brake late. He'll go deep into the corner. Catalana also goes deep, so there's no way through there. The two drivers very much planning the same thing, trying to find the dry bit of track, trying to find the clean bit of track as well, but Valentino Catalana still remaining in 10th place. Danny Sufi in 9th. Sebastian von Gartzen just ahead of them. And here they come up over the brow of the hill towards turn 5 and 6. And Catalana has not managed to find a route forwards. The teams are there looking over. There is the notification of the drive-through penalty. The drivers will have been told that on the radios. There are a couple more as well for an accurate grid position. So car 99, that is Mark van der Snel. He also is under investigation, as indeed is Wolfgang Peyer in car number 12. So 12 and 99 under investigation for inaccurate grid position. So the stewards are working very hard here as they look at just the start of the race. We've still got 45 minutes of actual racing on the track to go. But 2 drive-through penalties have been awarded. Just to remind you, Dan Skrdopol and also Beitske Visser in that car there, the number 35 car. A car that was brand new last time out at Assen as a result of the crash with Alex Cascatau at the Nürburgring a few weeks prior to that, a big accident, and we still wish Alex Cascatau all the best as he recovers from the injuries sustained at the Nürburgring. But that was a brand new car that was hastily put together, and a Duquesne is what the team chose to go for this time around, the number 35 car. And that car It's been very quick, but they just, as I've already mentioned, have not had a lot of luck. Klaus Abelin is ahead of them, and Klaus Abelin, who is currently running in 12th place, took a win in the trophy category yesterday, guesting here as we ride on board with Jakob Elbacker very briefly. And now, here we go again. Bijtske this time to the inside of Klaus Abelin, but to remind you, she has to take a drive-through penalty, so she may make up a place on the track. She takes a tighter line. Klaus Abelin allowing the number 35 car to get away, fighting back a tighter line on the inside, but Bijtske, the driver who we really welcome to Prototype Cup Germany, loses the place again. Great stuff here from Bijtske. Such a shame about the drive-through penalty, because we would love to see this fight for actual position. You can see from the graphic, 5-second time penalties have been awarded to Mark van der Stel and also to Wolfgang Peyer, and that is for an inaccurate grid position. So those two cars will have 5 seconds added onto their time at the end of the race. None of the cars that had the drive-through penalty have yet decided to do that, and I think they will need to before too long. Otherwise, the stewards might have something to say about that. You can see that Bijtske has now finally found a route past Klaus Abelin, as that's somebody running wide into turn 1. That is our new champion. So that is Gary Hauser, who outbraked himself into turn 1 and drops down the order somewhat. So Gary Hauser was in 7th place, but I think he would have lost positions as a result of running deep into that turn 1. There is Klaus Abelin for Fricadelli Racing, the legendary team at the legendary circuit. As a driver, we haven't spoken much about so far. Jan Marszalkowski, he's got Xavier Loveras filling his mirrors, just 6 tenths behind last time across the line. Jan Marszalkowski, who along with Guillaume de Oliveira finished in 3rd place yesterday. Now Bijtske comes for her drive-through penalty. The driver that we saw in W Series for a couple of years has been a welcome addition to the ranks of Prototype Cup Germany, but this will not be the weekend she wants to remember. She didn't get a drive yesterday as a result of the accident to Elias Sparandio, and today the drive-through penalty as a result of the car not being on the ground in time for the legislated time, and both of those things that were probably out of her control, and both of those hitting her weekend hard. So frustrating time for Bijtske, a less frustrating time for Valentina Catalana, Danny Sufi, Sebastian von Gartzen, all running together, 8th, 9th, 10th, all running in a row, and Valentina Catalana fancies finding a route past both of those Conrad Motorsport cars. Now Danny Sufi, well, it's his teammate who's in front. He would desperately like to get past. He needs to do that without letting Valentina Catalana through as well, and that's always the way with these cars. You make a challenge for position. If it doesn't stick, the car behind will come sailing through. Now maybe the team will have a word with Sebastian von Gartzen and actually ask him to make way for Danny Sufi, but I get the feeling that Sebastian von Gartzen, who shares with Maximilian Hacklander, will not be ready to give up that 8th place. Ahead of them, Gary Hauser in 7th place and Julian Apostolos in 6th. But we look at the two Conrad Motorsport cars up towards the chicane. Once again, the Vidal chicane turns 13 and 14, and then around the right-hand turn out onto the pit straight. This is where they pick up the slipstream, keeping to the dry line on the track. Now, will there be a move as they head along past the pits in towards turn 1? It's Gartzen at the front of the queue. He's in 8th place. Then it's Danny Sufi. Sufi looks to the inside. Really important. These two cars don't get together. They did connect with each other at the Nürburgring. Did not go down well in the Conrad Motorsport pit, I'll tell you that. But look at Valentina Catalana. He was ready to jump if there was any hint of these two cars getting together. He's still there at the moment. But still, Sebastian von Gartzen in 8th place. Danny Sufi in 9th. Valentina Catalana in 10th place. So, very much as you were at the moment, but you get the feeling this is all going to change, don't you? There is, of course, the pit window that will be opening. We've still got another 7 minutes before that opens, so it's going to be racing on the track. No opportunity to do an undercut or an overcut at the moment. Sebastian von Gartzen has responded by opening up a gap. I will just tell you that at the moment, the quickest man on the track is Jakob Erlbacher. He's in 3rd place, and he is the fastest man and a 1:53.201, which is a very quick lap indeed, the quickest of anybody on the track. Also very quick is Julian Apothelos, who was quickest in Sector 1 last time around. There was a puff of smoke in the background that looked like Danny Soufi potentially locking up a break. That's allowed Valentina Catalana to close in on him. Out they come. Now, Valentina Catalana, he can sniff a potential chance to get past in towards the chicane. They're going to come under the heavy braking. Then it'll be up onto the last couple of corners, and then it'll be up onto the pit straight once again. But Valentina Catalana looking dangerous as he tracks the number 2 car in front of him. Further up ahead, Jan Marszałkowski's got a similar problem. Xavier Loveras is in his mirrors and trying to steal his position away. Just ahead of them is Nico Gerler in 3rd place. Jan Marszałkowski would love to get another podium today, and he would love to even more stand on the podium instead of getting awarded it after the race had finished. There is the number 70 car in 2nd place, Jakob Erlbacher, who has moved up past Nico Gerler. So Nico Gerler down a position, the driver that started on pole position. Jakob Erlbacher, who was the fastest man on the track, continues to be the fastest man on the track. Bizarrely, it is Julian Apothelos who has set an identical fastest lap of anybody, as we see Valentino Catalana finally find a route past Danny Soufi. So Catalana through to that 9th place. Boy, did he have to work hard for that. But rather unusually, we have 2 fastest laps on that last lap. It was both Jan Marszałkowski and Julian Apothelos, who set a 1:53.193. So the laps times are tumbling with every lap, and we've got 2 identical fastest laps on the previous lap. You can see that Valentino Catalano is now leaving Danny Soufi behind, and Danny Soufi doesn't appear to have anything that he can bring to the table in terms of the pace that Valentino Catalana is showing, and he will be eager to find a route past Sebastian von Gartzen next before there is any opportunity for anybody to catch up behind. Meanwhile, Nigel Moore has a 2.4-second lead over Jakob Erlbacher in 2nd place. So, to remind you, his pit stop will be longer than some of the cars behind. Jakob Erlbacher, also a solo silver driver, so his pit stop will also be 5 seconds longer. So Nico Gerler, if he can stay within 5 seconds of the 2 cars in front of him, then he has the opportunity to jump past them after the pit stop sequence when the car is handed over to Gustavo Kirilla. So Nigel Moore at the moment leading the way, Jakob Erlbacher in 2nd, Nico Gerler in 3rd, and then we see Jan Marszałkowski in the black and white car with the fluorescent markings, loving his time in the LMP3 cars. We saw him in GT Masters last year. He was a race winner in GT Masters, along with last year's Prototype Cup champion Marvin Dees. They won at the Sachsenring, an emotional weekend for everybody, and he has joined the LMP3 ranks this year and has been getting quicker and quicker. Having said that, it was back in Zandvoort when he took his last win, and would love to visit the top step of the podium today. A solid 4th place for Jan Marszałkowski, Xavier Loveras behind, and he has taken to the Mulner Motorsport Duqueine very well, even though he was in the Van Ommen Racing by Datalab car for much of the season prior to this weekend. So a black and white flag has been shown to Jan Marszałkowski, and that is for disrespecting track limits. So the stewards are keeping an eye on car number 14. Also under investigation is Nigel Moore, our race leader, and that is for weaving after the grid board. So the stewards are still looking at a lot of things that have been taking place at the start of this race, as now Sebastian von Gartzen and Danny Soufi race each other. So Danny Soufi looking to get past Sebastian von Gartzen. So the 2 Conrad Motorsport cars running together, Valentina Catalana having cleared them. So there is the number 2 car and the number 22 car. So Valentina Catalana, now he's dropped back behind them. So Valentina Catalana, while we were looking at some of the other battles, has dropped back. So Danny Soufi and Sebastian von Gartzen, and car 77. Now, I'm looking at my tracker. He is stationary out on track. So Valentino Catalana No, he isn't stationary. The GPS tracker that we have to try and follow, yes, he is stationary. So car 77 has come to a stop. Valentina Catalana is out of the car. The safety car is out. So the gap that Nigel Moore had built over second place has closed right up, because Jakob Elbacker will be back on his back bumper. But the driver who has been on a charge, what did we say about luck? Well, if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. Valentina Catalana, the driver who won at Oschersleben, has had a couple of second places as well, is out of the race, and Robin Rogowski is not going to get an opportunity to drive that car again this season, because in this, the final race, is car 77 that is parked at the side of the track. Now, whether he has made contact with something or whether there has been an issue, but the notification is that the pit stop window is to be postponed. So the pit stop window, which was due to open in 1 minute's time, of course the clock still keeps running behind the safety car, but the pit stop window is to be postponed. So we'll let you know when that is. We're looking at car 77. We didn't get on camera what might have happened. It doesn't look like it's damaged, so it looks like it may have been a mechanical issue. There's a bit of smoke coming from the car as well. Now, whether that's just hot brakes or whether it's something that's blown up, but whichever way it is, Valentina Catalano season has now come to a premature finish, and Robin Rogowski will not get a drive in that car. So just to update you on championship standings while we are here, coming into this race, Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunyo were in second place. Of course, Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer have already secured the Drivers' Championship, but this fight was still on for second place, and Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunyo were leading Valentina Catalana and Robin Rogowski by 18 points coming into this race. So that will secure second place for Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunyo, because Valentina Catalana and Robin Rogowski are no longer in this race. Gustavo Kirila and Nico Gerler, who were fourth in the Drivers' standings coming into this race, they were 31 points away from the lead, from second place, so they cannot steal that second place away. There's a car into the pits. That is the 26 car. Now, is he serving his drive-through penalty? Because if he is, that will not satisfy the stewards. Doing a drive-through penalty under a safety car, well, it's less of a penalty, isn't it? So Dan Skidopoulos has been through the pits. He's taken... well, I'm just looking at the timing screen, and it says he's been into the pits twice. So I don't know whether that was meant to have been his drive-through penalty or not. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. So plenty going on to occupy the stewards, but car 26, well, he's going to be at the very back of the pack once this is all done and dusted anyway, isn't he? Back to the drivers' standings. So the junior championship, the driver that is leading the way is Max van der Snel, and he is 12.5 points ahead of Julian Apothelos. So that one is still very much to play for, because Mark van der Snel is currently in 13th place and Julian Apothelos is in 6th place. So the junior standings race still very much open. In the trophy standings, Mark van der Snel leads Wolfgang Peyer by 11 points. So if things remain as they are now, then Mark van der Snel will still win the trophy championship. And if things remain as they are now, it will be Racing Experience who win the team standings. But we have 31.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining before we can make any confirmations or many announcements about championship winners. We are behind the safety car as a result of the Valentina Catalana car, the number 77 DKR Engineering Duquesne, being stranded out on track. It was up near turn 12, I believe, but the car stranded out on track has come to an end. You can see the door is open. The driver has exited stage right, and we are just waiting for that car to get to a place of safety. It looks like there's a bit of fluid coming from underneath the car, so that would probably confirm the fact that it was a mechanical issue and not contact with anything that is causing that car to retire from the race. So just looking to see if there's any more updates on car number 3, because it is Nigel Moore who leads the race, but he is under investigation for weaving after the grid board. So that was when the cars are on the formation lap. They're given the instruction to grid up, The drivers are then required to remain in line and to not weave. Obviously, if you're running in a pack of cars, you can't have cars that are weaving. So the stewards are currently looking at that, and it may well be there will be another twist in the tail of what has been a fascinating season for Prototype Cup Germany here at the Nürburgring, the season closer, race 12 of the season. The BHK board is out for Beitske-Visser, and they are clearly indicating to her. Now, what they are trying to tell her, I'm not entirely sure, but Beitske-Visser, who's currently in 10th place, not ready for pit stops yet because the pit window is postponed. I was telling you a little bit about the pit stop window. So, depending on the driver grading, they are all graded by the FIA silver, gold and bronze. Bronze being the lesser category, gold being the greater category. So for a combination of a bronze and silver driver, they get 10 seconds added to their mandatory pit stop time of 95 seconds. For two silver drivers, it's 20 seconds that is added. For a gold and a bronze driver, it's 20 seconds that is added. But for a single silver driver, it's 25 seconds that is added. There's Valentina Catalana. Such a shame. He has been hyping himself up for this weekend. He's been doing a lot of practice on the sim. He was really excited about the pace he had in that car, was really hoping for a good result, and that has turned out not to be the case. They got a 7th place yesterday, and today it is a non-finish, and Robin Rogowski will not get a drive at all. So they will be very disappointed with that. So much potential, and were definite contenders for the championship, but for the bad luck. But this will leave them well down the order. Certainly 3rd place coming into this race. I think they will keep that. They were some 13 points ahead of Gustavo Kirila and Nico Gerler. So, in fact, well, Nico Gerler, a 3rd place, will get him 16 points. So it's looking a little bit touch and go for that 3rd place in the championship, but there's still a lot more to come from this race yet. A little under 28 minutes plus 1 lap as we wait for the number 77 car to be retrieved from the track. Once again, we ride on board with Jakob Erlbacher in these conditions, these fairly nippy conditions here at the Nürburgring. Once again, the drivers needed to keep the heat into the tyres, and that was very much the story this morning after qualifying. The drivers complaining that it was really hard work to get the cars into, or get the tyres into the right temperature window, and then it was even harder to keep them there long enough to put in a good hot lap. And it was those who really got the heat generated into the tyres were the ones that started further up the grid. Having said that, Jan Marszałkowski, one of the drivers who was struggling with tyre temperature this morning, up to that 4th place, so good job from him. Nico Gerler, who was our pole sitter, down into 3rd place at the moment. He, of course, will hand the number 8 car over to Gustavo Kirila, the Brazilian driver who has looked very rapid all season long, but they are still looking for their first win. They've had a couple of 2nd places. They had a 2nd at the Nürburgring, and that's no mean feat, I'll tell you, round there. And they've also had a 2nd place at Zandvoort, but they would dearly love to get a top step of the podium. Nigel Moore, who has joined us in the Prototype Cup Germany, is looking very quick indeed, and he is an experienced driver for Aus Motorsport. He was alongside Dino Steiner for a while. Now that is Beitske-Visser, who runs through the pits. Now she's already served her drive-through penalty, so she's gone back into the pits again and back out onto the track. So we've got no notification of any reason why she should make a 2nd pass through the pits, but she's done that. So Beitske-Visser drops a little bit further down the order still, as we wait to get an awful lot of money's worth of machinery. The Duqueine D08, well, there's a view of it floating above the low loader, and they've got a good system of keeping the car level there. We've seen it in previous races where they've tried to pick the car up and it's tilted. Of course, the engine at the back of the car, all the weight's at the back, but a great system of straps and pulleys there, and these are very expensive, very valuable cars. So getting it off the track in a way that doesn't actually add to the amount of damage already. Well, all credit to our hard-working crew here. Good job done by them. The new pit stop window will open from 21 minutes past 4 local time. It is currently 19 minutes past 4 local time. So clearly, we're anticipating getting this back underway within the next couple of minutes, although we've had no official confirmation of that yet. But it will be at 21 minutes past 4 local time, which would indicate the stewards feel as though we will be back racing by then. It is currently, just looking, it is 16, 19 and 40 seconds in Germany. So within a couple of minutes, as soon as this race is back underway pretty well, the pit window will be opening. Right, safety car is in on this lap. It is Nigel Moore who leads the pack up towards turn 10 at the moment, and he will want to get the jump. Now, this is going to be hard work because Nigel Moore, Jakob Erlbacher, to remind you, will have a pit stop that is 5 seconds longer than Nico Gerler when he hands over to Gustavo Kirila. So this will change the dynamic of the race. Also, Jan Marszałkowski, he will have a pit stop that is shorter than the first two cars as well, 5 seconds shorter. So the cars that are in third and fourth could potentially benefit from the pit stop once the pit stop window has opened and closed again. So Nigel Moore and Jakob Erlbacher will be very keen to get out front and build up as much time as possible before they come into the pits. Here we go then. It's Nigel Moore who continues to weave. It's his decision when he goes. Jakob Erlbacher cannot overtake him until they get to the line. You can see how close he got on board. Now Nigel Moore on the accelerator along the pit straight. They come out towards turn 1. In the background, Nico Gerler drops back a little, looking vulnerable to Jan Marszałkowski into turn 1. Marszałkowski looks to the inside. Nico Gerler doesn't defend, but he's got the faster, wider line. Can Marszałkowski find a route into third place? He has the traction. The two cars running side by side into turn 2. Marszałkowski then to the outside. The rest of the cars behind fighting hard. But look at this. Jan Marszałkowski looking racy on Nico Gerler. He goes to the inside into turn 4. And it's Jan Marszałkowski who steals that position away. Nico Gerler getting hung out to dry. Can he come back on the outside? No, he can't. You can see our race leaders coming along. Nigel Moore still weaving. Jakob Erlbacher in second on new third place. Jan Marszałkowski, Nico Gerler in fourth place. Xavier Loveras into fifth place. Julian Apothelos there as well. All these cars running absolutely nose to tail. Gary Hauser in there. Danny Sufi has found a route past Gary Hauser. So Danny Sufi up into 7th place. But a great move there. Jan Marszałkowski putting his experience to good use. The driver who's won in GT Masters. You saw a bit of contact there with Nico Gerler going into the corner and a little bit of debris flying up into the air. That is being investigated by our race stewards. It looked like Nico Gerler closed the door after Marszałkowski had got the nose in. So car 22 into the pits. It's Sebastian von Gartzen, the first of the drivers to pit, and he will be handing over to Maximilian Hacklander. So car 22, the first of the drivers to make a mandatory stop, and into the pits he comes. Rest of the cars out on track at the moment, but the pit window will remain open for another 9 minutes. So plenty of time yet. A lot of strategy to be played out there. There was one that peeled off into the pits just very briefly. Then we saw a car peeling off. I think it was Marszałkowski who's peeled off into the pit lane. So Marszałkowski handing over to Guillaume de Oliveira, who was so quick yesterday. The car 14 pulling the pin on the pit stop. Here we come, keeping to the speed limit. To remind you, the pit stop time for the number 14 car will be 115 seconds. So in comes Klaus Abelin as well in car 30, handing over to Felipe Lazar. So Abelin is a bronze-rated driver. Felipe Lazar is a gold-rated driver. So their pit stop time is 115 seconds as well. The Fricadelli Racing Ligier comes to a stop. The crew get to work. The outgoing driver, well, he can take all the time he wants, really, can't he? Because 115 seconds is plenty of time to get out of the car, change the seat insert and then get back in. A little wash of the window, make sure the drivers can see out nice and clearly, and it'll be Felipe Laza who jumps into the seat of that car. The 22 car is back out on track, this time with Maximilian Hacklander at the wheel. Behind him is Beitz Gewisser in the 35 car, and it continues out after that run through the pits. So Beitz Gewisser out in the track as well. So there is Beitz Gewisser in the 35 car. We look down at the pit lane. It's still Nigel Moore, Jakob Erlbacher, Nico Gerler. And there is a lock up there for Maximilian Hacklander going into the corner, which was turn 11. He keeps it on the track, so no big issues, although a flat spot on the tyres will cause vibrations, and that will not be good news for the pilot of the 22 car. Vibrations of a flat spotted tyre. Marszałkowski has handed over to Guillaume de Oliveira. Other cars now coming into the pits, but still Nigel Moore, Jakob Erlbacher, Nico Gerler remain out. There's Felipe Laza out. Marcus Pommer, the champion, the new champion, has taken over from Gary Hauser in the number 15 car. Out onto the track they come. And here is Danny Sufi. He will be handing over to Tim Zimmerman. Great to have Tim Zimmerman here. He's won in GT Masters this year for Huber Racing. He's now doing something very different to the Porsche that he was racing when we saw him last. Now in the LMP3 prototypes, learning a steep learning curve, a very different kind of racing. A lot of traffic at further out on the track, as Maximilian Hacklander and Felipe Laza and also Beitz Gewisser running together out on the track. So still the main leading cars are out on track at the moment. It's Danny Sufu we saw that is into the pits, that is handing over to Tim Zimmerman, but it's still Moore and Erlbacher and Gerler who lead the way, fighting for the positions further back. Felipe Laza, who has been so quick in that number 30 car. He qualified well yesterday, got the car into the lead for some of the race. There is that lock-up into turn 1 that we saw, fighting side by side for positions. Though Felipe Laza in the 30 car, Beitz Gewisser in the 35 car, running very much as one and the track at the moment. But of course, we've got drivers that are a lap down, drivers that are on the same lap as a result of the pit stop. Now the pit window is going to remain open for a few minutes longer. Car 3 has a 5-second time penalty for weaving after the grid board. So our race leader, Nigel Moore, has a 5-second time penalty hanging over him. So if he wants to win this race, he needs to finish at least 5 seconds ahead of second place. Jakob Erlbacher in second place, looking potentially at a win here if he could stay within reach of Nigel Moore. A 5-second time penalty awarded to car number 3, and that is for weaving after the grid board. We continue to watch the fighting on the pack. Car 99, the Van der Snells, Max van der Snell now at the wheel of the 99 car, getting stuck in with the battle as Tim Zimmerman ahead of them, and there is Guillaume de Oliveira round the outside, having taken over from Jan Marszałkowski. No contact at all. Brilliant stuff there. Car 14 finding a route past Max van der Snell, the driver who, along with his father, took their first ever win in the Prototype Cup Germany last time out at Assen. An emotional win for them, and still very much in the hunt here for the Junior Championship and for the Trophy Championship, the father and son duo. But keep an eye on Guillaume de Oliveira along with Jan Marszałkowski. What a great combination they have been. I really hope we see this duo together next year. A lock up into the corner though. You can see how hard they are trying ahead of them. Tim Zimmerman in the number 2 car. We're still waiting for our lead pack of cars to come into the pit. Still out on track. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 still have yet to pit. Dan Skadoppel also yet to pit. Up in 6th place. Beitz Gewisser in 7th at the moment, who is still yet to pit as well. But a great battle going on further back. These are going to be potentially for podium positions once all the pit stops have been done and dusted. And Nigel Moore still yet to come in for his mandatory stop. To remind you, he has a 5-second time penalty that will be added after this race has finished. So not only does he have the extra 5 minutes stationary in the pits, but he's also got an extra 5 seconds time penalty. Now, he may choose to take that time penalty as part of his pit stop, so he may decide to stay stationary for another 5 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that and see what his pit time is when he comes out on track. But at the moment, the challenge for position, Tim Zimmermann, he's very new to this, but also GM D'Oliveira, new to Prototype Cup Germany, steals that position away and is through into 8th place. So Tim Zimmermann relegated a position, but he's learning LMP3 racing his first weekend. Now, this is Jakob Erlbacher. He could potentially have a race win staring at him once this is all done and dusted. He's stationary in the pits, and he is in for his mandatory stop. Of course, there's no driver change on his car, so he will just be stationary for that extra 5 seconds. Then he will rejoin. We will see where he will rejoin when this is all done and dusted. At the moment, the battle that we are looking at is still Tim Zimmermann in the number 2 car. Ahead of him is Guillaume D'Oliveira, who is in 8th place. And we'll see where the cars come out in relation to them. Fighting for position still, Van der Snel this time finding a route past Tim Zimmermann. So Max van der Snel up into 9th place. Gary Hauser's there as well, having taken over. That's Marcus Pommer, who's taken over from Gary Hauser, also looking hard. To remind you, Tim Zimmermann had not raced in LMP3 until this weekend. He's an experienced driver, but not in this, a downforce based category, as we look at the view from Jakob Erlbacher as he looks out the empty pit lane in front of him, but he must not go too early. If he gets to the pit exit before his allocated time, he will pick up a penalty. You can see the race logic system, and in the pits, the jump has been got by the number 6 car, Oscar Tunyo, who's taken over from Julian Apotelos. So Oscar Tunyo comes out in front of him. So Jakob Erlbacher, who was stationary for that 5 seconds longer, and you can see that has really hit him hard as he comes out on the track, and he's lost a position, but he has the pace. We saw how quick he was yesterday, getting that 3rd place on the track before the disqualification, and he has the pace. The question is, can he get past Oscar Tunyo? Because Tunyo is a very rapid driver. Out onto the track they come. We're riding on board with Jakob Erlbacher. He is tracking the move of the Van Orman Racing by Datalab Duquesne DO8, and he's behind him at the moment. Still 30 minutes of this race remaining. The remaining cars now into the pits. That's Nigel Moore, Nico Gerler, Dan Skudopoulos and Beitske Visser. The 1, 2, 3, 4 all into the pits. The driver that is leading of those that have pitted is Oscar Tunyo in car number 6. So we will see where they emerge in relation to Oscar Tunyo. He's in the pits. The other drivers are in the pits. Oscar Tunyo out on track towards turn 10 at the moment. And we'll keep an eye on where Nigel Moore comes out, as indeed Gustavo Kirila, Dan Skudopoulos, and it will be Elias Sparandio who takes over from Beitske Visser. There is Gustavo Kirila in the pink number 8 car. The remaining cars stationary for what will feel like an eternity in the pits. A really long stop, and they cannot go early. If they get to the pit exit before their time, they will get a penalty. The team are counting down. Here comes the battle again. Tim Zimmermann once again now with Gary Hauser. Zimmermann in 10th place. So this is for the minor places. Behind them, Felipe Lazar in the number 30 car, who's taken over from Klaus Abelin. To the inside of car 15 of Marcus Pommer, not Gary Hauser, as the graphic says. So through goes Felipe Lazar, really enjoying his debut in Prototype Cup Germany this weekend. So rapid. Marcus Pommer, an experienced driver in GT Racing, has a look to the inside. Felipe Lazar, of course, who won in the Ferrari 296 at the Nürburgring 24-hour race here just a couple of months ago. Loves this circuit and is taken to the LMP3 car very well. It's not his first time racing LMP3, and it shows, but he is very rapid in that number 30 Fricadelli Racing car. So out on track, it is car 8 at the moment who's showing at the front of the queue. Would like to see some shots of this, and I think that Gustavo Kirila may have come out in front of Oscar Tunyo, but we'll let you know when we see some pictures of that. We're currently focusing on the battles further back down the pack, but hopefully we can give you an update on what has happened. Yes, Gustavo Kirila, who took over from Nico Gerler, currently leading the way. Now, Nigel Moore in second place. I don't think that he took that 5-second penalty during his mandatory stop. We have no indication yet as to whether he has taken that or not, but I believe he hasn't, because he's running in second place, and it's Oscar Tunyo in third place, not Julian Apothelos, with Jakob Elbacker in fourth place ahead of Guillaume de Oliveira, who's taken over from Jan Marshall-Kolski in fifth, and Xavier Loveras, who is in sixth place. So plenty to fight for here. 10 minutes remaining of this race, 10 minutes remaining of the season for Prototype Cup Germany 2023. Felipe Lazar challenging car number 2, Tim Zimmermann, for position. Surely he's going to get him now out onto the pit straight. Zimmermann, who is rapid but still learning the ropes here, he's going to feel the wrath of Felipe Lazar as they go into turn 1, but Marcus Pommer has plans to try and get past as well. The Fricadelli racing car anticipates well. Zimmermann outbrakes himself, a little puff of smoke into turn 1. He tries to keep it on. Great stuff from Zimmermann. Fighting back on the inside, but Felipe Lazar on the dirty line out of turn 2 towards turn 3. Felipe Lazar steals that position away. Great stuff. Marcus Pommer getting involved as well. Tim Zimmermann, the meat in the sandwich. But Felipe Lazar, wonderful stuff. And he is up into 8th place. He's taken over from Klaus Abelin. So the graphics on your screen, not representative of who's driving the car at the moment. Marcus Pommer in car 15. Oscar Tunyo is in car 6. And he is with Nigel Moore, the race leader. Gustavo Kirila in the pink BWT car. There is your 1, 2, 3 running together on the track. Car 26 has a 5-second time penalty for crossing the white line and exiting the pits. Dan Skudoppel incurring the wrath of the stewards once again. And a 5-second time penalty will be added to his result at the end of the race. He's in 12th place at the moment, so that will not affect the 1, 2, 3. So there we go. Updated names. Gustavo Kirila leading the way. Nigel Moore, Oscar Tunyo, the 1, 2, 3. Jakob Erlbacher just 8/10 seconds behind. He is not out of this yet. Guillaume de Oliveira in 5th place. He's also there, but 4.6 seconds behind. The 1, 2, 3, 4 running together on the track. Little over 8 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race. Look at this. What a great way to finish the season for Prototype Cup Germany 2023. 1, 2, 3, 4 running together. Keep an eye also on Oliveira in 5th place and Loveras. They are fighting together as well, but this is the battle that is capturing our attention. Gustavo Kirila fighting for all he's worth. Nigel Moore looks to the outside. He goes back in line behind Oscar Tunyo in 3rd place. 1, 2, 3, 4 running together. So it's a wide line for Gustavo Kirila. Nigel Moore, the quick driver in the Ast racing car, pulls alongside and now retakes the lead of the race. Oscar Tunyo trying to follow through on his curtails, but it's still Gustavo Kirila. But now Kirila drops down into 3rd place. Now Jakob Elbacker, he fancies a chance at the podium, trying to make up for yesterday's disappointment. You see how hard he is fighting. He has the pink 3rd place car in front of him. Nigel Moore leads at the moment. Just to remind you, he was given a 5-second time penalty. We don't know whether he has taken that as part of his pit stop. We don't think he has. So if that is the case, Nigel Moore will be required to drop back down the order effectively. He will have 5 seconds added at the end of the race. Jakob Elbacker, that is the view of him as he looks at what is potentially a podium position. So if Nigel Moore does have 5 seconds added, it will remove him from the podium positions. It will certainly elevate Oscar Tunyo up to the front. But Gustavo Kirila in 3rd place, trying to defend from Jakob Elbacker. 6.5 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap of this, the last race of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany. And on board once again with Jakob Elbacker as he tracks the moves of Gustavo Kirila just ahead of him. Nigel Moore out in front at the moment leading the way. Oscar Tunjo in second. Gustavo Kirila in third. Jakob Elbacker, who we're riding on board with, in towards turn one. Once again, staring at the back of Gustavo Kirilo. Guillaume de Oliveira in fifth place. Xavier Loverass in sixth. Good job from Max van der Snel. He's into seventh place. And Felipe Laza, he's made himself up to eighth place. Tim Zimmerman holding on brilliantly into ninth place. This is the fight for third, though. It gives you a great perspective of what it's like to drive one of these monsters. Gustavo Kirilo defending for all he's worth. Guillaume de Oliveira fighting as well. He's caught up with Jakob Elbacker at an amazing pace. So, Guillaume de Oliveira fighting for position and for a potential podium position. Suddenly, Jakob Elbacker cannot put the pressure on Gustavo Kirilo, because if he does, he could let the cars behind through. Also, Xavier Loverass has joined that queue. The first two have broken clear slightly. Nigel Moore and Oscar Tunjo. Then it's a 1.2 seconds back to this fight here for the last of the podium positions. Gustavo Kirilo, Jakob Elbacker, Guillaume de Oliveira, and Xavier Loverass, who joins the queue. Now Loverass putting the heat onto Oliveira. Great stuff here. Less than 5 minutes of this race remaining on this race 12 of the season for Prototype Cup Germany 2023. Nigel Moore leads. Tunjo in second. That is solid. Although Tunjo just 7/10 behind Nigel Moore, so that's not all over yet either. Nigel Moore potentially with a 5-second penalty, which we will need to keep you updated on. But it is the third place car, Gustavo Kirilo, who is defending for all he's worth from Jakob Elbacker. And also Guillaume de Oliveira and Xavier Loverass, all in the queue for the last of the podium positions. So out towards turn 15 they come once again onto the pit straight. It's into turn one where they make the challenge. Now Jakob Elbacker, he picks up the slipstream. Along the pits we come. Will he go to the left? Will he go to the right? Into turn one. The bump as they come into the braking point into this corner. There's the bump now. The heavy braking. He goes to the deep part of the corner. He cuts back to the inside. Gustavo Kirilo anticipates it well. Now up towards turn two. Almost making contact, but now backing out of it. Gustavo Kirilo holds on to that third place. Behind him, Guillaume de Oliveira is trying to steal that position away as well. So he has to be so careful, Jakob Elbacker, because if he's got to make that position stick, otherwise he will lose position. Xavier Loverass ready to jump if anybody gets together in front of him. 3.5 minutes of this race remaining. What a great way to finish the season in Prototype Cup Germany 2023. Nigel Moore out front ahead of Oscar Tunjo. Now, I believe that he hasn't taken the 5-second penalty, Nigel Moore, in his pit stop. I think he's trying to make it up on the track, but he's only got 9/10 on Oscar Tunjo in second place. Gustavo Kirilo in that third place. He's just broken clear from Jakob Elbacker for a little while, but we've still got 3 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race. That is Oscar Tunjo running 9/10 behind the race leader and some 3.1 seconds ahead of Gustavo Kirilo. There is car 15, Marcus Pommer, our new champion in the Prototype Cup of Germany. Car 6 has been shown a black and white flag for disrespecting track limits. So that's Oscar Tunjo. He's got to be careful. That second place could be under threat if he exceeds track limits too many times. So the black and white flag, it's a warning. Nothing has been done in terms of a penalty, but if he does it again, he may well find himself relegated down the order. Third place once again along past the pits. Gustavo Kirilo, Jakob Elbacker lining him up, this time to the inside, but Gustavo Kirilo under braking into turn one. Now Elbacker tries to take the tighter line. Great stuff from Gustavo Kirilo. He anticipates it well, holds on to that third place. Guillaume de Oliveira behind in fifth place, ready to jump as well is Xavier Loverass. These cars all running absolutely nose to tail. We continue out. They've closed in a little on Oscar Tunjo, now to the inside, having a look. Jakob Elbacker, he backs out of it, looks again to the rear of Gustavo Kirilo's car. That pink BWT car he has been following for so long. Time is starting to run out. 90 seconds plus 1 lap remaining of this, the 2023 season for Prototype Cup Germany. Jakob Elbacker trying to go the long way around turn 7. Still Gustavo Kirilo holds it off. But now Jakob Elbacker right behind him, trying everything he can to get past Guillaume de Oliveira behind them as well. But still, Gustavo Kirila holding on to that third place. De Oliveira has Xavier Lavras. He is behind him, looking to jump. Each driver wanting to make the move. But if they make the move and it doesn't stick, they let in the car behind and it would be all over. Nigel Moore continues to lead. Oscar Tunyo in second. 45 seconds left. Gustavo Kirila, this is third place. Here we come now. Jakob Erlbacher. Guillaume de Oliveira behind him. There is Oscar Tunyo just coming round the corner. That gives you an idea of how big their gap is. It's 1 second between first and second, but then it's 4.6 seconds back to third place. So this is the last of the podium positions. It is still Gustavo Kirila, Jakob Erlbacher. It is Guillaume de Oliveira behind him, and also Xavier Lavras. To remind you, race leader Nigel Moore has a 5-second time penalty that has been added, which we do not believe he has taken yet, and that will be added once this race is finished. So it could be a win for Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apothelos if things remain as they are. And the fight for third place continues. It is still Gustavo Kirila, Jakob Erlbacher running out of time now. So the leader is up towards turn 7, so it's about a lap and 3/4 remaining of this season. In this, the Prototype Cup Germany 2023, what a great way to finish what has been a magnificent season for these mighty monsters here at the legendary Nürburgring. And it's still Gustavo Kirila holding on to that third place. Can he hold on for what will be about a lap and a half now? He's running out still with Jakob Erlbacher, the driver who finished in third place yesterday but was disqualified as a result of an engine mapping issue from his team. And would dearly love to get back onto the podium again. He has a little look to the inside. Guillaume de Oliveira not close enough to make a move at the moment, but you wonder if he's winding himself up for one last attack before this race finishes. Gustavo Kirila breaks clear just a little. Here comes first and second. Nigel Moore, Oscar Tunyo next behind him. Then the fight for third place out towards what will be the last lap of the race. He sees the last lap board. Nigel Moore just needs to keep it all together. Oscar Tunyo 1.1 seconds behind him, and that's now opened up to 1.3. But Nigel Moore potentially with a 5-second time penalty may not keep the win. Gustavo Kirila might not keep third place because Jakob Erlbacher flashing the lights into turn 1 for the last time. Still can't find a route past. He tucks to the inside. Gustavo Kirila goes deep into the corner. Erlbacher's been lining this up for ages. He tries to come back round the outside. Kirila has him covered off. Jakob Erlbacher still in fourth place. Oliveira behind them, ready to jump as well. But still Kirila holding on. Xavier Lavras is there. And Max van der Snel and Felipe Lazar have also joined this battle. They would have loved this race to have been another 5 minutes longer because they may have had a chance at a podium as well. But now Oliveira looks to the inside of Jakob Erlbacher. That is a gift for Gustavo Kirila because suddenly Kirila is allowed to break clear because Jakob Erlbacher is defending instead of attacking. Xavier Lavras there as well. These drivers giving it everything, and it's up into the position behind. It is for Felipe Lazar, who's up into 7th place. He's found a route past Max van der Snel. Great stuff here. Still continuing in this, the final lap of the season for Prototype Cup Germany 2023. Nigel Moore currently up towards turn 12. Then it's Oscar Tunyo. Then it's this fight here for the last of the podium positions. It's still Gustavo Kirila who has held on for so long. Felipe Lazar, who has been charging through the pack up into 7th place. But here comes our race leader into the chicane for the last time up towards turn 14. Around towards turn 15 is Nigel Moore, who's going to receive the checkered flag, but there is a 5-second time penalty that is hanging over him. The checkered flag is out for Nigel Moore. Oscar Tunyo crosses the line next ahead of this fight for third place. Gustavo Kirila, with immense pressure, has held off Jakob Erlbacher. Then Guillaume de Oliveira across the line next ahead of Xavier Lavras and Felipe Lazar. Brilliant stuff there as the cars receive their checkered flag to conclude what has been a spectacular season for the Prototype Cup Germany, and to finish it off here in what has been tricky conditions at the Nürburgring. Brilliant stuff from these drivers. So there is a Nigel Moore, the driver who has crossed the line first, but there is that question mark over whether he has taken his 5-second time penalty in the pit stop or not. We will get confirmation of that at some point soon, but unfortunately we don't have the information of how long he was stationary for in the pits, and he was given a 5-second time penalty which was prior to his mandatory pit stop. So if he didn't take that as part of his mandatory stop, then that will be applied once the race is done and dusted. We'll wait for the cars to come into Parc Fermé before that is all concluded. But Max van der Snel, who came into this race at the top of the junior standings, was 12.5 points of Julian Apothelos. Now, by my calculations, I think that Max van der Snel will keep hold of the junior championship lead and will thus become the junior champion, but we will need to just do a little bit of calculation on that in a few moments. So as they cross the line, Nigel Moore was first in the Aus Motorsport car. Then it was the Van Ommen Racing by Datalab, Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apothelos, ahead of a great fight. Gustav Kirila, Nico Gerler in third. Jakob Erbacher gave it everything in fourth, ahead of GM de Oliveira and Jan Marszalkowski in fifth, ahead of Xavier Loveras, Klaus Abelin and Felipe Lazar. Great comeback by Lazar to seventh. Then the father and son, Max and Mark van der Snel, in eighth place, ahead of Tim Zimmerman and Danny Sufi. Marcus Palmer and Gary Hauser, the new champions, a fairly quiet end to the season for them, ahead of Max Hacklander, Sebastian von Gartzens, Dan Skodoppel in 12th place, having incurred the wrath of the stewards, ahead of David Hauser and Wolfgang Peyer. And then it was Elias Sporandio and Beitske Vischer who finished in 14th place. The only non-finisher was Valentina Catalana, who shares with Robin Rogowski. We just need to wait for confirmation on whether Nigel Moore has taken his 5-second time penalty or not. I'm just looking at the standings. So Max van der Snel, who finished in that position of 8th, and he was behind Julian Apothelos, but I think he's done enough to keep the junior standings championship, but we'll wait for some confirmation on that shortly. We want to just check on the overall race winners at the moment. So into the pits comes car number 6. There is car number 3. And yes, the 5-second time penalty has now been applied. You can see that Nigel Moore hadn't taken it during his mandatory pit stop. So the race winners will be Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apothelos, ahead of Nigel Moore, who receives that 5-second time penalty for weaving after the grid board. He will be fairly gutted about that. And in third place, Gustav Kirila. What a great job, along with Nico Gerler, the pole-sitting car. They held off despite immense pressure to take the last of the podium positions. Brilliant stuff here in the Prototype Cup Germany. So Julian Apothelos won in the junior race. I'm just looking, counting back. So second was Nico Gerler, third Jakob Erbacher, fourth Oliveira, fifth Loveras, 6th Abelin, 7th was van der Snel. So I think van der Snel will just about have kept it up. We'll let you know on that in a moment. In the meantime, take a look at some highlights. So, some wonderful highlights from what has been a spectacular race here at the Nürburgring. So, while we were looking at that, I've just had the calculator out. I've had my shoes and socks off, doing the calculations. By my calculations, always subject to very much to confirmation. It is Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunyo who secure second place in the Drivers' Championship. Of course, Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer have won the championship last time out at Assen. In the junior standings, I think that Max van der Snel has beaten Julian Apothelos by 4 points. Of course, drivers, depending on the categories of them and their co-drivers, have a multiplying factor to their finishing scores just to add complication to things. So I believe that Max van der Snel has won the junior standings by 4 points from Julian Apothelos. In the trophy standings, I believe that Mark van der Snel, well, he has definitely won from Wolfgang Peyer. And in the team standings, yes, we announced it yesterday. We can confirm it today. Racing Experience, despite a 10th place finish, finished 9 points ahead of Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab in the team championship. So Racing Experience take the team standings. Mark van der Snel, the trophy championship, junior championship to Max van der Snel. And of course, Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer taking the win in the drivers' championship. Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunyo securing second place in that. And that is all subject to confirmation. Keep an eye on the socials. Of course, we still have scrutineering to come. We counted our chickens a little bit early yesterday, didn't we? But yes, that was all subject to confirmation. There is our race winners, though, and what a great job they have done. And you can see how much it means. Oscar Tunyo and Julian Apothelos taking their third win of the season. Nigel Moore finishing in second place with that time penalty relegating him down, and a wonderful job. Nico Gerler and Gustav Kirila with a third place finish. They started from pole position. You can see how much it means. Nico Gerler, who came through the ranks of Formula 4 and has been very quick, and Gustav Kirila, well, if you ever wanted a lesson in how to drive under incredible pressure, you just saw it from Gustav Kirila. There is Julian Apothelos and Oscar Tunyo, who have secured second in the overall championship and have taken the win in this, the final race of the season. A season that has seen us with 40 different drivers taking part across 12 teams. And this was the 20th race in the history of the Prototype Cup Germany, organised by Creventic and the ADAC in association with each other, and it has been a hugely popular series. I believe that it will be back again next year. We don't have a calendar announced yet, but again, keep your eye on the ADAC and the Creventic websites, and the calendar for 2024 will be announced very shortly, I have no doubt. There is Julian Apothelos and the very smiling Oscar Tunyo, the driver in Colombia, who we saw a little of last year in this category, and has really taken to it so well. He was 6th in the championship last year, so up to second in the championship this year. We did see him in a GT Masters very briefly in 2018. He's also been doing the GT World Challenge Europe Series, but has really found his home in Prototype Cup Germany. And he, along with the Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab crew, have really got a potent combination. He and Julian Apothelos. Of course, Julian Apothelos, we've seen him in many things over the years, in TCR racing and GT4, but this is his first year in the Prototype Cup Germany. He was recommended to Jörg Van Ommen, who leads the Van Ommen Racing crew. He was recommended by none other than Bernd Schneider. So when Bernd Schneider tells you to take a look at somebody, you take it very seriously indeed. And that is exactly what Jörg Van Ommen has done. Julian Apothelos, we've enjoyed watching him coming up through the ranks. Still very young in the grand scale of things, so some great stuff ahead of him in his career. We hope he's going to stick with the LMP3 racing, because he really is an asset, and we sincerely hope that he stays with Prototype Cup Germany along with Oscar Tunyo, because they really do bring a really good element into it and have been thoroughly entertaining, would have been challengers for the championship had it not been for what was probably, they would look back at Zandvoort, 2 non-finishes. Apart from that, they've been finishing in the top 4 in every single race, but a double non-finish at Zandvoort. I think they just all got out of bed on the wrong side and walked under a load of ladders that particular weekend because they were involved in all sorts of dramas, and the 2 non-finishes saw them out of the championship hunt really, realistically, from that point onwards. There is our podium, and there is the 3rd place drivers. Well, they're ready. I don't know where the rest of them are, but surely they'll be there shortly. The friends and family and pets gather, as was the case yesterday. We will wait for the announcer to call them up onto the stage. It's a different announcer today. Yep. The team, Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab. That's what you're looking for. There you go. Prompt. So here we go. Top step of the podium. Oscar Turnio, Julian Apotholos. Second place. For Aris Motorsport, Nigel Moore running solo. He got to take 2 bottles home yesterday. That's the bonus of running solo. Gustavo Kerala and Nico Gerler. What a fantastic job they did. So representative for Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab. Julian Apotholos, the highest finishing junior driver. So he'll need a wheelbarrow to get his trophies home. And Klaus Abelin, the highest finishing trophy driver. He, along with Felipe Lazar, be great to have them here this weekend in the Fricadelli racing car. And the legendary Nürburgring 24 winner. And now we wait the national anthem. Okay, someone's looking for the CD at the moment. Having a scout around, we may have the national anthem in just a few moments. Well, hopefully, anyway. That'll be the German one. There we go. No, wrong. Track 3, mate. There you go. Well, we may have to have waited for the national anthem to appear, but we got the 12-inch remix in the end, didn't we? But all good. The rain held off, and it was a spectacular race. Race 12 of the season. So the trophies have been awarded. Nico Gerler and Gustavo Kirilla were going 3-2-1 today. So they get a trophy each and a bottle each. Nigel Moore, I believe, gets 2 trophies because he was a solo driver. Oh no, take that one away with you. But he does get 2 bottles. He's got an alcohol problem now. And the winner, they get a trophy each, of course. And yeah, so Nigel only getting 1 trophy. They'll steam the label off that and use it next year. So there we go to the top step of the podium. Julian Apotholos, Oscar Turnio, a trophy each. And the team trophy, Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab. The legendary team, of course, Jörg Van Ormen. the team owner who has had such an influence on German motorsport over the years, on world motorsport over the years. Portelos gets yet another trophy. He's hiring a warehouse in downtown Cologne to keep all these trophies.
And last but not least,
the winner of the trophy category, Klaus Abelin, gets another trophy. Yes, great to see Klaus on the podium once again. The driver who owns and runs Fricadelli Racing and has been a welcome addition to this event this year at the Nürburgring. So we pose for photographs and then the celebrations start, and the celebrations can continue through until next year. That concludes what has been a spectacular season for the ADAC Creventic LMP3 Prototype Cup Germany. Your champions, Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser. It's Max and Mark van der Snel, who we believe are the champions of the Junior and Trophy, and Racing Experience, who win in the Team Championship. It has been spectacular. We started at Hockenheim in April. We went to Oschersleben, to Zandvoort, to the streets of Nürburgring, to Assen. It all came to an end here at the Nürburgring in spectacular fashion. Prototype Cup Germany 2023 is done. We'll see you again in 2024 for the Prototype Cup Germany in association with the ADAC and Creventic. We'll see you next year. Bye-bye.